Well, hello Hastings, and welcome to an HCTV Candidates Forum. Tonight, we will hear from the candidates running for State Representative District 54B. That district, of course, includes Hastings. Running to represent you are incumbent Representative Denny McNamara, endorsed by the Republican Party, and to my left here is Mr. Don Slayton, endorsed by the Democratic Party. And I'm Tom Wright with the HCTV Party, and will be the moderator here. Rules of the game, we'll get these laid out here first. This is a forum, not a debate. Each candidate will answer the same question and will be given 2 minutes to do so. However, the candidates may choose to use their 2 minutes however they wish. Of course, we hope they do include their answer to that question somewhere, but it is theirs. And we ask that the other candidate not interrupt the candidate during their 2 minutes. We will keep it to 2 minutes. We have a friendly wrap it up sign the candidates will see when there's 10 seconds left to help them wrap it up. So, gentlemen, let's start with you, Representative McNamara, on background here and get to know you both first. Please share your background. That may include where you're from, your experiences, education, and anything else you'd like to share.
Well, thank you, Tom, and good evening to the Hastings community, and thank you to Hastings Community TV for putting this on. We really appreciate the opportunity to get before the voters and let them know what we're about. I'm a lifelong Hastings resident, fourth generation family living here in Hastings. My wife Lynn and I have been married for 38 years. We have 2 growing children, Mike and Brian, and 4 grandchildren. And so we're blessed and very happy. I spent 30 years as a landscape contractor with my business partner, Gary Hoffman. We had a good career doing public sector landscaping. I'm a college graduate from the University of Minnesota, Carlson School of Business, and so I've been very happy. I served 12 years on the Hastings Natural Resources and Recreation Commission. I was a past president of the Hastings Chamber of Commerce and served on the Minnesota Nursery and Landscape Association Board of Directors for 12 years, and I'm a past president of that organization. It's been a real honor to represent Hastings for 6 terms. I first ran for the state legislature in 2002. I've been blessed to be sent back 6 different times, and I'm seeking my 7th term. I serve as the Republican lead on the House Environment Finance Committee, and really my concentration in the legislature has been on environmental and business issues. I think we need more common sense leaders like I am in the legislature that understand the complications of running a small business successfully for 30 years and protecting our family's interest is what we need in the legislature today. So I'm excited to be here this evening and look forward to the discussion, and thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Slayton, please introduce yourself and tell us your story.
Well, thank you for hosting this tonight.
Yes.
I'm happy to be here. My name is Don Slayton. I'm a 40-year resident of the district, having lived in Denmark Township for 28 years, Hastings for 14 years. Right. I'm presently serve on the Hastings Planning Commission for the past 5 years. I'm a retiree from the Metropolitan Council Environmental Services, having been the shop foreman for the sewer plant in Egan. I have served 6 years on the Washington County Planning Commission, served 4 years on the Denmark Township Board of Supervisors, as well as having served on the Planning Commission in Denmark at that time. I have spent 8 years as the chair of the old Senate District 57, which is now Senate District 54. And presently I am the vice chair of the 2nd Congressional District.
Gotcha. All right, and the next question here is, and we'll keep it on you, Mr. Slayton. Why are you running? Why did you choose to run in this race for district to represent District 54B in the House?
Very good question. It's been asked many times at many of the doors that we've knocked on. Mm-hmm. I'm running for this position to help maintain the progress which has taken place over the last 2 years under DFL leadership here in Minnesota. We've run a progress for our schools, for our healthcare systems, for our children. We have repaid the school budgets that were borrowed from the schools 6 years ago to balance the state budget. I want to maintain the direction that we have been going in the state which is forward, not backwards.
Gotcha. And let's turn to you, Mr. McNamara. Why do you wish to continue to represent District 54B? Why are you in this race?
Well, thanks, Tom. Great question. I find it a real challenge. I enjoy the job. It's real important to me. And unfortunately, I think we need balance more than ever in the state legislature. As you know, we have single one-party rule. The entire legislature and the governor is currently all Democratic. I think we need a balance. We're going to have a Democrat Senate. They're not up for election. And I believe a Republican House is the best thing to bring that balance. And I think it really shows the balance that I seek and want is shown in my legislative leading bipartisan vote. I have the highest bipartisan vote record of any legislator seeking re-election this year. And I'm really proud of that. It shows I can work across the aisle with Democrats and Republicans to get things done. And I think that's really important. And it's what we're lacking today. Everything is so partisan. I was never a politician. I was a landscape contractor, worked for a living. And I think that's what we need more of today, is people that worked in the private sector, signed the front and the back of a check, and know what it's like to work hard and to provide jobs for Minnesotans. And unfortunately, we've gotten off track, and we need to compete with our neighboring states. Our tax climate is a tough one. It's a tough environment to live in. It's a cold climate, and to compete, we have to have a good business climate. And I look forward to the balance and bringing that back a little bit to where we can really move forward in a common sense, good way like we do at home and at work, and we should be doing it in government today too.
We'll stay with you, Mr. McNamara, on this next question. How would you describe your leadership style?
Well, I work together. I like to get things done. When I chaired the House Environment Committee, we worked in a bipartisan way to craft a real good bill with Governor Dayton. He was the governor, and we had a Republican legislature, and we worked with Governor Dayton to get things done. Permitting reform, we did a great step one in House File 1 in 2011, which was a good permitting reform bill. Governor Dayton has mentioned it a number of times in his campaign this year. I like working things out, get it done, find compromise, do the right thing, and find balance in what we're doing today. And I've worked hard. Just to show, I've been on more conference committees appointed by Democrat Speaker Paul Thiessen from Minneapolis in the last 2 years than any other Republican member, because it shows that I can work with all people. I can work with I worked with Governor Pawlenty when he was a Republican governor. I worked with Governor Dayton as a Democrat governor, and I spent 12 years in the legislature, 6 in the minority, 6 in the majority. So I know what it's like to come together and get things done. And I'm really proud of my record of doing that. And the people in the community know that. If they call me and need help, I'm going to return their call, return their email, stop by their house and chat with them and figure out what we can do to make it work. And I think that's what people need today, is a legislature that's involved and active and part of their community. And I'm really proud of being that kind of a legislator.
Mr. Slayton, how would you describe your leadership style? What kind of leader are you?
My style is one that works with everybody. As a shop foreman, as a person who's sat on many committees and been appointed to many committees throughout the county, Washington County, and throughout the townships. It's one of, you have to work with all sides. You have to listen to everybody's opinion before you make your own opinion. When you're working in the shop atmosphere with 7 different union groups, there's a lot of dissension about how you are going to complete a building project, how you're going to go about that, how you're going to make it the safest job you possibly can. You're working with different management styles throughout the years. So you have to be in the center of the action. You have to work with all groups, all people. I've learned, if there's one thing I've learned over the years doing that, it's that my style is pulling people from the left, from the right, into the center, working for the good of everybody, not just the left, not just the right. You've got to get them into the center to make it work.
We'll stay with you on this next question. It's really a 2-part question. What do you feel is state government doing well? And on the flip side, where do you think state government could improve the most?
What state government has done really well?
Yes.
What we've done really well is work toward equality for everyone in the past 2 years. We've worked for bringing funding back for the schools. We've passed health care for everyone in the state of Minnesota. There's 320,000 people in Minnesota today that did not have health care 2 years ago under MNsure. We should not be running from MNsure. It's a good program. It needs to be tweaked a little bit. There are a few issues with it, most of which started with the rollout of a computer system, which was not properly vetted to begin with. That caused a lot of problems. We've paid back the funding to our schools, which was taken away under GOP leadership, which forced the schools to go out ask for bonding issues to pay for the cost of those schools. That's now been paid back. We've been doing very good in the ways of progress for Minnesota that has been lagging for a lot of years. We need to maintain, going forward, those things which have worked. We don't need to go back to the years where things that did not work were pushed forward. We want to maintain that. Quality of life is huge here in Minnesota. Our air quality, our water quality, it's all big issues.
And on the flip side, where do you feel the state could improve?
I believe we could improve in the direction of looking at, right now, the oil trains that are going through Minnesota. That's a big issue right now. We've got 50 oil trains a day going through Hastings alone. We're just one derailment away from polluting the river, which flows down through St. Paul past Minnesota, right here down Minnesota. That's a big issue. We need more training for our firefighters, our rescue people, and how we're going to clean up when that accident happens. And it's going to happen. It's not a matter of when, it's a matter of if. It's going to happen.
All right. And let's go back to you, Mr. McNamara. Two-part question. We'll get a little extra time on this one for you as well. What do you feel state government is doing well? And on the flip side, where do you think state government could improve?
Well, Tom, I would say a couple of things come to mind that we do well, and we take care of the less fortunate. We have nation-leading insured rate for health insurance, and that's great. We had that before the MNsure debacle and the waste of $160 million for a website that never worked and was unfortunate. Again, that was legislation that was passed by only one party. If it would have been done bipartisan, I think it would have been better. We would have both owned it and we could have worked in a positive way. Unfortunately, it was so far-reaching and such a debacle, and now the Democrats own the whole mess, and it's just been really an unfortunate thing. There's some good parts to the idea that we keep young adults that have the ability to be insured up to 26. We already had that in Minnesota up to 25, so we're way ahead of the curve on so many things. The other thing Minnesota does a good job is its environmental balance. We really take care of our environment, and that's really important. When we needed to get rid of BPA, a product used in baby bottles, we were one of the first states in the nation to do that. We're constantly on the forefront of the environmental things. We have cleaned up our lakes, rivers, and streams so much in the last couple decades. As a kid, my mom would let me do a lot of things, but she didn't let me swim in the Mississippi River. Absolutely not. And today we have a cleaner Mississippi. Do we have more work to do? Absolutely. I was just down on a field trip with the field biology class with Joe Beatty and juniors and seniors down in the Vermilion Bottomland. And we see way too much erosion still going on, some of it from the Minnesota River Valley area that we need to do more, enroll more highly erodible lands in protection and grasslands. And we're going to continue to work on that. We need to do that. We need to work with the farmers to get that done, and I look forward to that. What we could do better is prioritize better. Our priority should be the working families and doing a good job, and it shouldn't be about spending more and taxing more. We should prioritize and be smart in what we're doing. And unfortunately, when you look at $90 million for a Senate office building, I'm sorry, 30 years as a landscape contractor, my office at the Capitol is probably 3 times as big as any office I ever had in my landscape office. And we're not making more legislators. We don't need a $90 million building for the senators. We already have office space for all of them. If they need temporary space, we have all kinds of empty space right on the Capitol Mall already. Think what we could have done with that $90 million to fix our roads and bridges, or to help grandma in the nursing home, or whatever our priorities should be. It's easy to get off track when you have single party rule that gets sideways with the reality. We need balance, we need both parties, and hopefully we'll have that come November 4th.
Staying with you, Mr. McNamara, what do you believe, if you had to narrow it down, what do you believe is the top issue for the state of Minnesota, and how do you feel that issue should be addressed in the 2015 state legislative session?
The number one issue in next session will be to bring common sense and balance back to the legislature, to prioritize. Our spending under Governor Dayton in the last 2 years went up 12% in state spending, over $40 billion state funds. Our growth in the economy was 3%. So we grew state government 4 times as fast as the economy. That doesn't work, folks. You can't do that. And that's why you need balance. You need both parties to work together to find solutions that work for Minnesotans. And single party rule and spending like a bunch of, sorry for the pun, but drunken sailors just because we have the money, which the vast majority of it was when the Republicans controlled the legislature and their good policies brought those budget reserves forward. And to go and spend them all just because we can, and then to say, oh, we cut taxes last year. You reduce part of the increase from the year before, and things like tax and farm machinery repairs. Give me a break. Then they repeal it the next year. Let's have some common sense and be smart in what we're doing. You can't do those kind of tax policies when we got to compete with Wisconsin, Iowa, South and North Dakota. We need a competitive environment, and Minnesotans are used to paying more in taxes. We can handle that. We're a good giving state, and we can do that. But there's a limit, and people are frustrated right now. We need some balance and bring the Republicans back in the House.
And let's go back to you, Mr. Slayton. Same question. What do you believe, if you had to narrow it down to one issue, what do you believe is the top issue for the state of Minnesota, and how do you feel that issue should be addressed in this upcoming session?
I believe our top issue is the fact that our bridges are falling down, our highways are overcrowded and crumbling. We've lost the ability to have 4 lanes on the Kellogg Bridge in St. Paul. The outside 2 lanes have been shut down due to structural damage. We did lose the 35 bridge 10 years ago. We have approximately 40% of the bridges in Minnesota which are deficient and need either great repair at great cost or replacement. Our highways are overcrowded. It's impossible to build enough highways to get our way out of that. We have to think smart about how we're going to use transit in the future, whether it's bus rapid transit, which is working very well through Apple Valley, Burnsville into Minneapolis and downtown St. Paul, or do we go forward with light rail? It's a big issue, light rail. It's highly, very costly. It's a big issue going forward. I don't know if that's the proper way to go here, or bus rapid transit from Hastings to join with Cottage Grove Park and Ride. That's something that definitely needs to be looked at. But that is one of our hugest issues right now. Are we going to lose more bridges? Yes, we will, if we don't take care of our infrastructure. Our sewers are crumbling. They're aging. Most of them are over 60 years old, some of them 80 years old throughout the cities. We did a good job separating our water lines, runoff water lines from the sewers, where we used to also process the water at an extra cost away from the sewers here over the last 20-year period. There's more to go, though. We've got old infrastructure. It needs to be repaired.
And let's stay with you for this next question. What have you heard from constituents as you have been on the campaign trail? What has stood out to you from what you've heard?
Been a lot of questions thrown out there as you're knocking on the door, and then we'll tell you the same thing. We hear about education. We're hearing about health care. We're hearing about many items out there. Okay, people are concerned about the way Minnesota's going. They like what they've seen in the past. They want to see more progress going forward. Many people have commented about education issues and the fact that we have paid back the schools this last year. They like the fact that Minnesota has created so many jobs coming back out of the depression that we've been in. I call it a depression. Many people haven't called it a depression, but that's what it was. An 8-year run of job losses in Minnesota under GOP leadership. That's what's happened. Those jobs are coming back to Minnesota. Our students, they're the best educated in this country. Our teachers are doing a wonderful job, and we need to support those teachers. We don't need to bash our teachers for the graduation rates, because they're taking care of themselves. Our teachers are wonderful here in Minnesota, and our students are going forward into higher education. They're some of the smartest in the country that we have here. We're doing a great job in many areas. Some of the folks at the door have really commented about the fact that transportation issues are really bothering them. We have a lot of people in Hastings commute elsewhere. And the fact that there's so many cars on the road during rush hour is a real factor to a lot of people in this town. That costs us a lot of money. It costs people a lot of time. And it costs a lot of upkeep on vehicles. We need transportation issues taken care of.
And Mr. McNamara, your turn. What have you heard out on the campaign trail from your constituents, and from what you've heard, what has stood out to you?
Well, Tom, I would say the one thing that really stands out this year is it's all over the board. So many times in a campaign, there'll be a single issue or maybe two that really stand out. I've had people talk about transportation, their concern of the congestion and the need for more roads and bridges. And they're right, we need to have more money for transportation and make sure that we find a way to properly fund it and prioritize it, make it a priority so that we get it done. They talk about education and the need for equity. Unfortunately, we get $5,000 less per student than a student in St. Paul or Minneapolis, and it's just not fair. A kid is a kid, whether that family moves from Minneapolis to Hastings, and why should they now get $5,000 per child less than when they were living in Minneapolis? It's not fair. We need more equity in the funding, and it's something I've always fought for, and really feel it's unfortunate that we have so much of a disparity, and more we hear about the failure in the big cities in their schools, and unfortunately they're getting a lot of money, and so it shows that money's not the only thing. We need to work smarter there. I hear about the environment some, the appreciation for what we have and the importance of environment in our district, where we have the Mississippi River, the St. Croix River, and the Vermilion River, the only trophy designated trout stream in a major metropolitan area in the entire United States. And that's the reality. Our Vermilion River that comes through our district is the only trophy designated trout stream that's in a major metropolitan area in the United States. And those are the kind of common sense things we do in Minnesota to take care of that. It's really important, and we prioritize that. And so I'm proud of those kind of things.
All right. You both have now mentioned working with both sides and bipartisanship. So this next question relates to that. As we had mentioned at the start of this, as I had mentioned that you're both endorsed by a major political party, and you, Mr. McNamara, with GOP, and then Mr. Slayton here with the DFL party. So it's safe to assume that you share at least some of the viewpoints with your respective parties. The question is, on what viewpoints do you not agree with your respective parties, if any, or any legislation perhaps that you did not agree with your respective parties? And let's start with you, Mr. McNamara, on that.
Well, thanks, Tom. That's an interesting one. I serve, as we said, in the suburban district. It's suburban with the Cottage Grove area. It's really rural with Nininger Township and Denmark Township and Afton. And then Hastings is really a city in itself. So it's a really cool district. We have a lot of union workers in our district. And I have a strong history of supporting them in legislation that goes against probably the grain of many in my party. But I've been rewarded with that. I think it's important. We have great union workers. Just an example, out at Flint Hills, the pipe fitters and the laborers and the 49ers. And I'm proud to again be endorsed by the St. Paul Building and Trades Council, the labor that represents those workers. I'm proud to be endorsed by both the Minnesota Nurses Association again, who represent the nurses at the Regina Medical Center at our Alina Hospital there. Fantastic facility. My wife spent 3 decades working there. And I'm endorsed by SEIU, the Service Employees International Union, that represents a lot of the custodial staff and the laundry workers and such at the hospital. And I'm honored to work on behalf of those union folks and understand that, and at the same time, I'm endorsed by a number of business groups that realize how important and how good of a job I do. So here I am endorsed by labor, by business groups, by environment groups. Conservation Minnesota has endorsed me. But truthfully, the most important endorsement I get is from the voters come November 4th.
And Mr. Slayton, how about you? Where, if any, viewpoints, or legislation have you disagreed with with your respective party, the DFL party?
I believe the biggest thing that I have disagreed may have been the stand on the Viking Stadium. I believe that the owners of the stadium could have footed the whole bill for that stadium. The WIFs kicked in, 50% of the cost of the stadium, and then they turned around and wanted to and did put a fee on season ticket ownership of $10,000 to $20,000 per seat. That's just wrong. That's just wrong. So I disagree on the stadium and how it came about. That's one of the major ones. As far as if we're talking union endorsements, well, I have 10 major unions who have endorsed me this year, along with several other DFL groups. Everything from Minnesota Education to St. Paul Trades and Labor to the Machinist District 77, UFCW, and many others out there. We both have union endorsement. As a lifelong union member, and I've worked with both the Steelworkers Union and with the Machinist Union through the years. Mostly I'm a 40-year member of the Machinist Union. My son is a Steelworkers Union member, and he is on the negotiating committee and he's shop steward for those folks. He's coming up the ranks. And our union workers are what upholds our wages in Minnesota. Without a strong union, we'd all be making much, much less. The middle class would be suffering a lot more. When the unions get a raise, everybody else gets a raise.
All right. And now for closing statements. And we'll continue with you, Mr. Slayton. Please provide a final pitch, if you will, for those watching that cast their vote for you. Why should Hastings vote for you to represent them in the Minnesota House of Representatives? And also, please feel free to include any contact information as well.
Okay. Well, first I would put out the contact information. My website is at voteslayton.com. You can look at everything on there and what I believe in, and my union endorsements and my other endorsements. As far as, repeat that question, please, one more time.
Well, basically giving you your opportunity
Yeah, okay.
to
Okay.
give a,
All right.
why should
people
those
should
watching
vote for
you?
me as a progress happening moving forward. I believe in healthcare as a human right. I believe in education for everyone. And if we want to step back into the past and talk about chopping off MNsure, which is a very good program, it just needs more help, then you should vote for Dennis. If you want to maintain health care, education that's paid for, instead of taking money away from our schools, then you should vote for me. That simple.
All right. And with you, Mr. McNamara, again, if you could please give your pitch to the voters out there, and again, you can also may include any contact information as well.
Well, Tom, thanks to you and to Hastings Community TV again for putting on forums. This is so important for voters to get a chance to see and hear us and what we stand for. It's so important, and I really encourage folks, get out there and vote. Please do. And November 4th is a very important date. Tom, I'm proud again, my 7th election, to have never taken a single dollar of PAC or lobbyist money. I've run against 7 different opponents, 7 different elections. Every one of them has taken money from PAC and lobbyists. I am so proud of the fact that I am one of the very few legislators, so it's only a couple of us left, 201 legislators, only a couple who in the last 7 elections have never taken a single dollar of a PAC or lobbyist money. I go to the legislature to represent the people of Minnesota in District 54B, and that's what I'm there for. And I think that's really important. I think getting out and talking to people and hearing what they have to say is really what it's all about. And I'm proud to have done that. I'm proud of the folks I've helped when they've had challenges dealing with state government or the bureaucracy, or they don't feel they're getting treated right, and we're able to step in and help them. That's a great part of the job. And getting visiting them door to door and hearing what they have to say helps so much when you go back to the legislature and do the good work we do up there. I look forward to balance, bringing it back to more to the center in Minnesota, and I think that we'll do that this year. My contact information is dennymcnamara.com, or you can just call me at home, whatever works. I'm really proud to have represented the people and look forward to the challenge. When you've got 2 children and 4 grandchildren all living right in the district, you understand the importance of representing the community, and I look forward to doing it again. Thank you, folks, and please vote for Denny McNamara on November 4th.
Well, thank you, Mr. McNamara, and thank you, Mr. Slayton, for your time and coming in here tonight. And I wish you both good luck on your campaigns. And for those of you at home, we do have more forums to watch. There is the Dakota County Commissioner race, as well as the Hastings City Council race for the 2 at-large seats. So you'll have those to watch as well. And you can find those, as well as this forum, on our schedule at hastingstv.org. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.